Welcome to an evening version of Coffee and a Weather Map with Jeff. It's December 3rd, 2025 on a Wednesday. Probably not coffee that I've been drinking. So anyway, one of the things that I wanted to do was try to get these going again, obviously. And I am going to talk right through while I get all these maps up here in front of me. There we go. Just to do this, to kind of get things going. I'm trying to just do everything direct to tape. Don't worry about editing. The only thing I might edit is the beginning and end because we had problems with our power. I think I have it fixed. Looks like something on a different box that was on the tower there. So anyway, I think I got it fixed and remedied. We'll see what happens. Our power is now more stable. So here we go. We got extra Christmas lights around the boat. And we are ready to go. Yes, here we go. Okay, so to begin with, here's the 21Z surface map. Shows a lot of fronts. They're the main ones coming down there through Michigan, where the cold air is now coming across the Great Lakes. They're going to get some lake effect snow out of this over the next 72 hours at the very least, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. Now that I have some new tools to work with, and since the shutdown is done, and you can read it in the blog what I think about all that, at least a very short, tiny rant. We can now use those tools. All right, because they're experimental. Do have an area of low pressure that is trying to move through, or at least a cold front through Texas with a surface low in southern Oklahoma. High pressure dominates the southeast, and we happen to be in part of that, which the weather has been pretty nice today, although the clouds started to move back in because of this area of low pressure that's going to be starting up. That's one down by Brownsville, causing a lot of the warmth and moisture meeting up with this one here in North Texas and southern Oklahoma around the Red River Valley. That's going to cause us issues here over the next day or so in the southeast, and we will get into all those things with each one of my areas that I've been trying to forecast for. Just to kind of give you an idea is what's going on. We still have the high pressure over the southeast. That has been quite effective to be able to give you this. And we'll do the Midwest one here as well. You can see the cold front. The front itself is from 21Z. WPC has not updated the fronts yet, but you can kind of see that they're the one there and going through Michigan hasn't really moved much comparatively, looking at the surface trough that's moving through there, as well as what's going into Illinois as well, and the high pressure that builds up in the northern plains. We'll jump back to that one. Overall, the jet stream has kind of a split flow as we look upstream here. You've got this jet that's moving into the Pacific Northwest that kind of then arcs down into the desert Southwest. That area of low pressure there is kind of the split in the whole flow, with the main part of it, the polar jet going down through from Canada through the northern plains and then into the upper Great Lakes and up. We were in the tail end of a subtropical jet. That looks like that is continuing. It's another jet streak is coming through here off to the southwest. It's going to move across the southeastern states. We are going to get into a fairly active pattern here, it looks like, at least for a time. So we'll take a look at the satellite shot here as the College of DuPage lines up or loads back up. So the area of the three main areas of concern, we have the lake effect that you can see up there in Michigan and the upper Great Lakes. That's kind of, especially off of Lake Superior currently, that's where most of the snow is expected to go. You can kind of see that there, and we'll talk about this a little bit with their specific satellite shot, but you can kind of see that the clouds are trying to start bending a little bit more to the west as opposed to the northwest. So that area of low pressure is coming through, and that will affect the lake effect that's coming up. We've got this central system there in the plains that's going to be moving across, and then the rest of this coming out of the southern polar jet, or southern polar subtropical jet, coming back through Texas, and that's going to try to spread across here. We will start seeing rain and rain chances moving across this entire region. There won't be a whole lot around the Corpus Christi area. It's probably going to be low-end amounts, less than ½ inch over the next 72 hours. Otherwise, if you continue moving on, some of the best rainfall is going to be there along the Gulf Coast, especially as you get Louisiana and then up over to Mississippi. There's going to be some here in Mobile, where our boat happens to be currently with us on board. All right, so take a look at the satellite shot here. They don't place these exactly where I would like them, but you know, I got to do with what I can. You can see the lake effect there in Lake Superior. It's kind of trying to start to, especially up here towards the north and over a little bit to the east here. You can kind of see that is starting to back with time, so that it's going to go more westerly here over the time frame. In the meantime, all the wind flow is coming across Lake Michigan, and you can see lake effect bands are starting to form across Lake Michigan as well, partly from the preconditioning of Lake Superior and what's trying to come across the Upper Peninsula, as well as in what is going to probably, as the temperatures get cool enough at 5,000 feet or 850 millibars over the lake, trying to get things going. They still have a little bit of the snow going on over that area. Just to kind of give you an idea, then also with what's going on over at South Texas, there is some fog, and you can kind of see some of that going along right there in the low levels, some of those darker grays trying to spread a little bit more to the west, while the upper level clouds are moving over towards the east. That is part of what's going on over this time period, and we'll see more of that here in a bit. All right, so to kind of show you how things are progressing, there's the snow that's been going across the region. You can see the lake effect snow there in the Upper Peninsula trying to get started, and in eastern, well, that would be, I forget how they term that, northern Canada, there by north of Sault Ste. Marie. The bands are starting to bend. You can kind of see some disruption. You've got some northwest bands, but then these ones here are in the west northwest, and then they turn more westerly. That tended to mean that you're going to have a little bit of a disruption, and then things are going to start to reorient more of a westerly sort of approach. The snow really hasn't started to form much. This is still left over from the previous system that's kind of moving through, that's there in the highlands along Lake, or in northern lower Michigan. And there's a few flurries going on around the rest of Michigan there as well. You can see down in South Texas, there isn't a whole lot going on currently. A little bit up by Victoria, in the Victoria Crossroads, and some out over the Gulf. But the rain has pretty much moved on up into Houston. Now, I think from what's going on, and we'll take a look at this with the forecast section, that it will start to fill back in again a bit, especially up in the Houston area as it tries to move across. And currently over the rest of the Gulf Coast, it is currently dry. All right, so we will take a look quickly here at the what is currently out and around. especially since I didn't really cover much over in the west or the northeast. We do have family up in those areas. Currently, there isn't a whole lot going on around the New Hampshire area other than just off the coast there, where they've got some gale warnings from the system that moved offshore, and it looks like that goes through. It's going to be good for actually tomorrow afternoon through the following day. So Thursday through Friday morning is when the gale warning goes on out there over New England. There's a winter weather advisory in western New York and the Tug Hill Plateau again, as we're seeing some of that 3 to 5 with 5 to 8 inch local amounts. Probably similar things going on, 2 to 5 around Boston Hills and the Chautauqua Ridge. Winds gusting as high as 35 miles an hour. Drifting snow, so those counties up there, around the Buffalo area, and down to down towards Erie, Pennsylvania. And if we actually take a look, they do have a special weather statement out of the Pittsburgh office, which I believe it's either that or the Cleveland office. They have 1 to 3 inches there in Erie County with 30-mile-an-hour winds. You can see that there's a lot of special weather statements out for the snow. They're not expecting a huge amount, coating to 2 inches there in the Laurel Ridge region, probably more of the 2-inch snow amounts. This one is also in the western Alleghenies, and they're looking at an inch or so. Probably not much going further east. Ohio's got some of the same sort of things going on. Pre-dawn hours, light snow, just to let people know there's minor accumulations to less than an inch. But it's going to be enough to coat the roads, and that'll be an issue. Now, as we looked at earlier, there isn't anything in northern lower Michigan or lower Michigan for that matter. There is a little bit for the special weather statement that's out of the northern Indiana office. And they're kind of looking at the same thing, freezing, drizzle possible mixed with snow, so that by overnight, there could be some icy patches, especially on bridges, since they are have surrounded by freezing air as opposed to having ground underneath them. Okay. Otherwise, in northern lower Michigan, they have a gale warning out over the open lake, and they have small craft. Oh, they do have a gale warning and a current small craft. Probably upgrades to a gale warning later on during the day tomorrow. And there's a small craft on the eastern shore or the western shore of Lake Huron as well. The only place where there's a winter storm warning currently, and that is for currently through tomorrow afternoon, is Chippewa County. The northern two zones, as it's called. The rest of Chippewa County doesn't have anything, but they are Sault Ste. Marie, Kinchlow, Pickford, and places west and north are expected to have, let's see, what is it? Probably more than 8 inches of snow. I think that's what the 6 to 12 inches. So, yeah. So anytime it's averages over 8 inches of snow in a 12-hour period, or 10 in a 24-hour period, that is the lake effect or the winter storm warning rules as far as snow amounts. And then in the winter weather advisory from the Marquette office there in, I'm drawing a blank on what the Alger, Luce, and North, yeah, that's Luce County, where Newberry is. I'm doing 3 to 7 inches, which is a typical advisory number going around there. Okay, so not a whole lot as far as convective system. There is this area of marginal that's down in southern Louisiana and southeast Texas where those thunderstorms are that we looked at earlier. And there's fog in South Texas. So right now, generally, visibilities are 1 to 3 miles with locations down to a quarter at times. And we'll have to see how things pan out over time. Although most of it is over land, so as long as the I'm not sure that we've quite hit fog season, but we are quickly approaching that. And fog season in South Texas is when we get these. Oh, they do have a dense fog advisory for the Gulf and going into San Antonio Bay. They don't have it for Corpus Christi or Nueces Bay or Baffin Bay at this point. But we can kind of take a look at it. We have dense fog reducing visibility to 1 mile or less over the northern bays, which is Copano, Aransas, Redfish, San Antonio, Mesquite, Espiritu Santo, and the coastal waters there from Port Aransas to the Matagorda Ship Channel and out 20 nautical miles. So those are the main things that we've got going on around there. There was one little, yes, SPC. There's a general thunderstorm outlook, at least for the next roughly 12 hours, going through 12Z tomorrow morning, which is 6 a.m. Central Time or 7 a.m. Eastern Time. It'd be 5 a.m. in New Mexico, where it is on Mountain Time. Otherwise, there are a fair amount of other watches, warnings, and advisories going on. Kind of looking out here, there's a beach hazard statement. I believe that they were talking about sneaker waves. Yeah, may get a few sneaker waves coming in there along the coastal part of Oregon. Otherwise, most of Oregon is actually pretty quiet here tonight, except for out there where there's a dense fog advisory from the Pendleton office for those areas out there by Walla Walla, Washington, and just over the border in Oregon. Looks like some coastal flood going on there near Astoria and Seaside, Oregon, all the way up into that part of southern Washington, Long Beach and Ocean Park, in those areas going north. And then a coastal flood watch going on as well, with an advisory already out there. So they're expecting maybe some more severe coastal flooding going on. And these are winter weathers or winter storm watches going on with the next system that we were kind of looking at a bit earlier. All right, let's get back into all the things. We were talking about the coastal flood. And let me pull that up back real quick again. And I meant to mention this. There's one here around just east of New Orleans and going into Gulfport, Mississippi. Winds are expected to continue to kind of drive more of this northeast or east wind. Let's see if it doesn't say there. But during the high tide cycle, and we kind of have it here too with Mobile. Not today, but actually later on. Let's just double check here. East winds 15 to 20 miles an hour, gust to 25. So what we're doing is we have an east wind that's kind of trying to push all of that water to the west into Lake Pontchartrain and this portion of the Gulf. And so what does that give us around here? Well, I pulled this up as the probabilistic extratropical storm surge. This is specifically for Waveland, Mississippi. So this is that area there by Bay St. Louis, right in the middle of the coastal. And here's what we're seeing. So by tomorrow evening, let me get the right spot here. We are looking at a forecast, that's the dark gray line there, of about 3.2 feet. The 90% chance, so basically there's only a 10% chance of being below 3 feet at this point going in there. And then the 10% or the worst case, the most likely worst case scenario is 3.5 feet for the tide. Now the actual tide is this blue line here, and that gets up to about just a little over 2 feet, maybe 2.1 during that time. But the surge that you've got from all that wind pushing the water around really starts to mess with with that. And you can see that by the gold line, the surge that's going through here. So that's what we're looking at. I know locally here for around the Dog River, Mobile area, it's not this next one, it's cycle that we're going, but the one after that, it's not expected to necessarily get as high as what they're going to be having over there in Mississippi or Louisiana, but we are expecting something to get going here, at least probably close to about 2 feet, but that will cause some issues in some of the low-lying areas. I know some of the locals here that I've talked to at the marina have talked about the fact that when it gets to about 2 feet, sometimes over that, you can end up with water in the parking lot, which is not all that much higher than what the docks are. So we'll have to see whether we can even get off the boat coming up here in another day and a half or two. So that's just one of the things that I have noted here. Oops, this is what we needed. We'll kind of take a look at some of those forecasts here as we go along. All right, so the forecast section. Let's see what we're going. We're at 23 minutes. Okay, we're going to probably really run a half an hour on this one today. You can see on the GFS for the next 3 days, 72 hours. This is the 18Z run. So we're looking at through 18Z. Let's move it to initialize 09. I don't want that one. Let us do 12Z. There we go. All right, so this is storm total. So this is what the GFS has for it. This is using the Kuchera method of snow ratios. So it's kind of a little bit better than just doing a straight 10-to-1, especially in the Great Lakes. We used to use this one pretty much due to the fact that our snow to liquid ratios would be 16 or 17 to 1 ratios. So for every 1 inch of precipitation or liquid precipitation, you could get 17 inches of snow, just because it'd be very dry and fluffy. In this case, we're looking at 6 inches there by Newberry, almost 17 inches there at Sault Ste. Marie. I would suspect, 7 inches up there near Pelston, and there's like 5.1 is what is expected, at least on the GFS, going into Petoskey. The Grayling number looks like 2.4. That's kind of the idea of what's going on. Now, this is over the next 90 hours, roughly the next 72 hours, starting from 0Z tonight, which is 7 p.m., going through 7 p.m. on, it goes through 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, but it's roughly a 72-hour or 75-hour amount. So just keep that in mind. The context is everything. So we have everything going along. Here's the European for the same time frame. And this is also the 18Z run for it. And so it goes out through that same basic time frame, out through 12Z on the 7th, Sunday. So not quite as much up there, 6 inches around the Pelston area. Most of the snow is expected to be up here, 9.3. So it's expecting more and more of a westerly flow, so that while Sault Ste. Marie is going to get into the snow, most of that snow looks like it's going to end up there in that part of Ontario, just north of Sault Ste. Marie. Of course, then the next system is coming down out of it, and you can see out there in Minnesota, that looks like somewhere near St. Cloud. I know that's along I-94. It's a little south of that. That they're looking like 8 to 9 inches out in some of that area. At least this is the European idea of that same system. All right, well, let's take a look then at, we'll go to the South Central, which there will be no snowfall. They do have some out there in the Rockies. I'm going to look at the total precipitation. out through that same period. And you can see for South Texas, we're only expecting another tenth to maybe a half inch. Of course, as you get up there by Matagorda Bay and the Victoria Crossroads, you're expecting a little bit more. In fact, this is starting to get more of a little over an inch there near in Calhoun County, and then an inch and a quarter there as you get further north by the name of the town escapes me. Up that way. Anyways, you're getting up there past Matagorda and in that area. Port Lavaca is probably close to, 3/4 of an inch of rain in there, which is, that's good. It's just the place that really needs it is up here by Lake Mathis, which is roughly in this general area. And there it's only expected to be about 2/10 of an inch, at least on the European, as we take a look at that. So, and then we'll just move over here to the southeast, since I am covering wherever I happen to be. And in this case, in the Dog River area, we're looking at almost 2 inches of rain coming up in the next 2+ days, 3+ days, and 72 hours going through that time period to 6 a.m. on Sunday. So that's what we're kind of looking at. So we'll take a look at it. The reason I used that, and I should have stopped it more closer to Saturday evening, because this is a better way to kind of compare it. Here's northern Michigan. You can see lower Michigan's not really expecting a whole lot. I gotta let it start to load up. We can kind of expect to see, like looking at Ionia, there's a 1/2 inch expected. The high end is 1 inch, the low end is 0. Of course, over here by Muskegon, expected 1 inch, high end is 2 inches, and the low end is a trace. In Grand Rapids, 1/2 inch, with the high end being 2 inches. And so we're getting into that above 25% of exceeding the 2 inch mark. So that's the 75th percentile. So let's see if we can get, it's still not loading up yet. But as we go out into northern Michigan, so Gaylord, or near the office, expected 3 inches. The high end over the next almost 2.5 days is 5 inches. The low end is a 1/2 inch. This low end is probably not really the expected amount. That's more of a 1/2 inch is like so it's a 90% chance that you're going to get over a 1/2 inch. Everything else is, so that would be the low case would be the I don't know if that'd be a worst case scenario. It would be for the forecasters, that's for sure. Up here by Sault Ste. Marie, though, they're looking at the low end of being 3 inches. And if the model, if the winds don't shift fast enough, or that they do shift too fast, and it all goes into Ontario, north of Sault Ste. Marie, they're not going to get the 13 inches that are expected, but they're going to be more like down at the low end with 3 inches. However, lake effect never does what it wants. It does its own thing. So you can see that the Marquette office is kind of doing some of the same sort of idea. There's Grand Marais with 7 inches expected, the high end being 9, low end being 3. And in Newberry, they're 1 inch is the low end and 7 inches expected, with 9 inches on the high end. Yeah, Pellston, 3 inches are expected, 7 inches on the high end. That's why there's no advisory out currently. 3 inches is still not in an advisory level. You start getting into the 3 to 5 inches would be that, but in this case, 5 inches is more of the 10%. So it's the worst case scenario out of this would be about 5 inches in that general idea. There in Gaylord, and you can see just a little bit further off to the east of Gaylord, there looks to be and it's not loading up. So we'll just kind of move on from that. All right, so my other tool that I like to use is the National Blended Models. So this is an ensemble of all the ensemble models, plus the deterministic models, plus all the other things that you can throw in there. This one's a little bit easier, but you can see that looking at through 6 p.m. on Saturday, they're looking down here in the corner, or 7 p.m. Eastern time. We are looking at snow up there by Pellston, about 5 inches. I think, and that's pretty much. Let's see if we can get in a little closer. There you go. Boyne City around 4, and that was kind of the worst case scenario. This is the mean, so we can kind of look at some of this. This is the median. The more likely is probably this 4 inches over here by Cross Village in some of those areas. There's another town up there that escapes me where they have the live nativity. That's Stutzmansville, as my wife just reminded me. Yeah, so they have about 5 inches there, but Pellston looks like more like 3, which is what we were seeing earlier. 3 inches down in Boyne City. That's probably what's more expected. The range that we would probably give the area is something like this. So the 75th percentile is 6 inches, and the 25th percentile around north of Boyne City there, Walloon Lake and some of those areas is 3. So 3 to 6 inches. They could end up with an advisory level sort of number. Anytime that you're over 3 inches, they might be looking at something like that. 4 inches is kind of pushing it, so it's kind of like probably more of a 2 to 4 inch thing is what the local office is actually looking at. Remember, the National Blended Models is just blending all the models, so this is still just model data, and no human has actually looked at specifically what's going on. That's the NDFD, the National Digital Forecast Database, that the Weather Service now uses to put the actual forecasts out. But this is the data that helps them make those decisions. All right, so let's go down and we will get out of the snow and we'll take a look at the precipitation based on, let's do the statistical on the QMD of the 72-hour rain at the same time period, 6 p.m. on Saturday. And we will take a look at the Corpus Christi area. You can see there, we're looking at, a little over a half an inch to almost 3/4. A couple of areas that could be 1 inch or greater. Some of these are a little bit innocuous ones that are kind of like not expected to probably be it. This is more likely, which is what we were seeing on the actual model data, kind of in this general area as you get up here past into Calhoun County and past Victoria, in the Victoria Crossroads. Wharton was the name of the town I was looking at earlier. So that's one of those things. As you get further out into the brush country, you get a little bit further west of Mathis, and that's where Lake Corpus Christi is, one of the big reservoirs for the city of Corpus Christi. You get out here, you can see that the amounts are less than a half an inch, with just one little couple of bullseyes there of right around half an inch there south of Freer. And you get out for even further, looking at Laredo, maybe a half an inch there, but most of it has been less than 2/10 of an inch for the rest of the brush country and that part of the Rio Grande Plains. However, as we go further over here to the east, you can see most of the Gulf Coast going into Louisiana from about Lake Charles all the way east to New Orleans. They're looking at over the next 77 hours, looking at the 72-hour precipitation ending on Saturday is right around 3 to 3.5 inches. Mobile, we're looking at like almost 3. I know I was watching the Alabama Weather Network earlier, and that's one of the things they were talking about. Most of the rain is going to be here in the southern part of the state of Alabama. As you get further north up towards Birmingham, and it's like more like 1.5 inches ish. And so what's going on there? All right. So what does that mean temperature wise across the area? Yeah. Oh, I just kind of look at some of this. We will help out some other family and friends. We'll go 72-hour snowfall. And we have family members around the Manchester area. They're not really expecting a whole lot. Looks like probably, based on the scale, less than 1 inch. It's the sampling is saying 0. I'm not sure that 0 is it, but it's pretty close to probably 1/10 of an inch or something like that. Probably trace amounts. Further to the west, where I have family, they're not expecting any snow down there south west of Portland. But what they are expecting, let's see here. We will do a 72-hour precipitation. Oops, not that one. Oops. That's what I wanted. Okay. And families basically in this general area, so they're looking at least the mean. The expected amount is probably right around 1 inch over the next 72 hours. Okay. Let's do surface. We'll do min temps for tonight. We'll kind of do some of this a little bit faster. Let's get the city and do the readouts. And we'll kind of zoom in on those areas. See, there you go. Tonight's lows. Oops. Start over here. Tonight's lows. We're looking at single digits around Cadillac to teens. Single digits there across the entire inland. What is that? Anyway, it's the highlands there. The inland highlands up here in northern Michigan. There is a large right there along 131. There is a pretty decent up hills, and then the highest point in northern Michigan is down here by Cadillac at 1,400 feet above sea level, where the lake is probably 560, I think. Lake Michigan, that is. So, that's one of the reasons why we get so much lake effect in this general area. So temperatures in those areas are expected to be single digits, below 10, 10 above. So, and then the rest of the lower peninsula is expected to be in the teens from 10 to around 15 or so degrees across the area, unless you're really close to the lakeshore, and then you're getting closer to 20. Water temperatures do have a habit of trying to warm things up. In fact, you can kind of see everything out and around Lake Superior and Lake Michigan, and as it crosses it, it gets almost a 10 to 15 degree bump up from what it was on the other side of the lake. All right, up in New Hampshire, we're looking at around Manchester, temperatures anywhere right around the 20 degree mark here for low temperatures tomorrow morning. As we look in the Corpus Christi area, we're looking at 60s. Oh, how my wife and I would wish we could be down there right now. And the temperatures, at least in the brush country, part of the Victoria Crossroads, and some of the coastal plains in here, in the upper to mid to upper 50s. Laredo is going to expect it to be around 60 degrees for their low tonight. Corpus Christi at 63, Rockport around 61, Port Aransas around 63 as well. All right, so if we get to where we're at, we're expecting mid 40s around this general area. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. Yeah, the Brookley field, that's just north of us, not too far away, is at 40, expected to be a low of 45 degrees tonight. We have, of course, a good portion of Alabama expected to be in the mid 30s, and then the further north you go up towards Birmingham, you're in the lower 30s, and getting into the upper 20s there as you get in the northern part of Alabama. We have other friends who have gone on. They're in the Panhandle. Mid 40s is expected to be the low temperatures. If anybody of the loopers has gotten past Cedar Key, then they're expected to have temperatures in the upper 40s to right around 50 degrees. Of course, around the Tampa, St. Pete area, we're in the mid 50s. Bradenton as well. Of course, you don't run into the 60s till you get down by Cape Coral and Sanibel Island, and then actually down by Marco Island. So those are in Key West. 73 degrees or 72 degrees is expected to be the low temperature for that area tomorrow morning. And we'll just kind of look one more thing. We'll look at our high temperatures for tomorrow. You can see in New England and going into there in the upstate New York, anywhere from Watertown and Odensburg going, temperatures right around in the lower to mid 20s. As you get further to the east and north, further to the east as you get into New England, you're getting into the lower to mid 30s until you get out to the ocean, and then it's in the close to 40 degrees all along with Portland, Boston, and Providence being 39, and then you've got Nantucket Island at 45. Of course, New York City also at 40 degrees. High temperatures tomorrow in lower Michigan, we're looking at lower 20s. Cadillac being in that the plateau of the inland plateau there, upper teens to close to 20 degrees. Would not be surprising during that time frame, especially since there'll be probably clouds and temperatures will just be generally cool. Again, the reason that we don't live there anymore. South Texas, cooler air has settled in. This is a little below the normal. They're expecting to have high temperatures right around the mid to upper 60s. Of course, if you're in the northern part of the brush country and the Victoria Crossroads, you're going to be in the lower 60s to lower to mid 60s. But the mid 60s to 70 degrees is what they're expecting in most of South Texas, with Corpus Christi around 67, Rockport at 69, and Portland at 67, and Port Aransas at 70. And then back over here to Mobile, in our area that we're at, Mobile itself, downtown, 54 degrees. Berkeley Field, there's just to the north of us, is 56. So we'll probably be the 56, 57 degrees there where we are in the Dog River. And then anybody out, the Panhandle is going to be in the mid to upper 60s with 60 near Port St. Joe. You start to get a little warmer into the 70s even by Gainesville, and then you get down here by what was the spot I was looking at before? Cedar Key, I think is what it was. Oh, there it is, 69 degrees. It's 76 for Palm Harbor and Clearwater, as well as then St. Pete and Tampa around 78, 79, even 80 degrees as you get inland. Further south, Cape Coral and Bonita Springs are in the lower 80s. 81 is expected at Key West. And just kind of to see what's going on in the Portland area, Portland, Michigan, not Portland, Michigan, Portland, Oregon, where my family is. Their high temperatures for tomorrow are going to be in the mid to upper 40s. Unless you're out at the ocean, Pacific City, that's one nice town there. That's 55 degrees. Okay, with that, I'm going to close this out. I know I have run 46 minutes, and I'm going to leave in all my little flubs and things on there. If you want, I will probably do this a different way next, but I am trying to use some of these new tools, and I need to get into a new workflow to see how all this goes. Anyway, have a great night and take it easy.